The Seattle Seahawks, it's been an incredible season for them. The Geno coaster has been in full effect. We've seen him at his best, and we've seen games where he's been not so good, really. Really efficient for those first few weeks. He only threw 2 interceptions, but then for the rest of the way, after the first 6 weeks, he was throwing 0.7 per game. So things came back down to earth. How do you feel about Geno Smith going into the offseason? Do you think that the Seahawks should be looking to bring him back, or do you think they need to be using that high draft pick to move on and try and find the quarterback of the future?
I think that if you're Seattle, with the way that you're rebuilding this team on the fly with those extra picks from the Russell Wilson trade, you're probably not going to have another top 10 pick if all goes well in order to go and get that franchise quarterback. And while Geno looks amazing at times this year, you've got on the screen, is Geno the answer? I don't think Geno is the answer if your aim is to win Super Bowls. I think Geno is a competent, average level NFL quarterback. I think he's going to get paid in the offseason. I think he's going to be starting quarterback somewhere next year. But I don't think that Seattle, with that high pick, can come out of this draft and say, we're gambling everything on Geno Smith being a Super Bowl winning quarterback. And I just don't think he's going to be that. Yes, he was incredibly efficient. He led the league in completion percentage above expectation. But I just don't think that he is going to be able to carry the offense to a position where they can be winning games on his back.
Yeah, as much as I agree with you on everything you said, and I think that's the right way, part of me can't get past the fact that Pete Carroll, even into the kind of early portion of the season, was talking up Drew Lock as somebody who could start games at some point. So it just feels like a bit of a wild card from him, really, and you never know quite where things are going to head. But one of the real bright spots of this season was Kenneth Walker, who looked incredible in the early part of the season. He was forcing missed tackles at a really high rate. And then he just seemed to slow down. He seemed to get a slump, and it wasn't quite what, early on in the season, it looked like he'd be a league winner, and that just didn't come to pass.
Yeah, I mean, he blew out the gates when he finally, after that Rashad Penny injury, the value was obscene. He was going as the dynasty RB1 in a lot of places, but down the stretch, whether it was a case of him hitting the rookie wall or the offensive line starting to get some niggly injuries, I know the two rookie tackles started to miss some time. He only averaged 12 points per game across the last 7 games, and that's not getting it done. I think the question for Kenny Walker next year is he only had a 7.4% target share. That was one of the questions on him coming out this year of the draft was, can he be a true 3-down back? And I think he showed enough this year that hopefully he can be utilized more in that passing game. And if he can get up to, it doesn't have to move miles, but if he can get to a 10, 11, 12% target share, I think it gives him a much higher floor week to week if he's going to be getting 3-4 targets a week rather than potentially the 1 or 2 that he saw this year.
Two players who really hoovered up a large portion of the targets for the Seahawks. DK Metcalf, he's such a beast, and when he flashes, he really flashes, but it's not always there. He had 8 weeks finishing outside the top 18 wide receivers. It just felt like this wasn't quite like the season that we hoped for him, even with the quarterback changing.
Yeah, I think that DK Metcalf's always going to be one of those guys that falls foul to the Calvin Johnson theory that I've put out in terms of anyone who's big and fast and basically people fall in love with gets overvalued. And I think that DK Metcalf is a good wide receiver too for fancy purposes, but I don't think he's more than that. He had 9 weeks as a top 24 wide receiver, but only 2 weeks as a top 12 wide receiver. I think he is good. I think he is a fantastic NFL receiver, but I don't think he's a guy that you can be, taking in the first few rounds of a best ball draft that you can be building your dynasty roster around.
A player who's not overvalued, a player who's constantly undervalued, Tyler Lockett. I mean, the guy just always delivers. He had an ADP of 101 on Underdog this season. He had 12 top 30 finishes. He is 30 years old, but for the way he plays and the way he avoids hits, like he quite often goes down to contact when he catches the ball and gives himself up rather than taking big hits, it feels sustainable, and he's somebody I'll definitely be drafting in 2023.
I love Lockett. Like, the value is just obscene. You know, he's under contract next year. He's not going anywhere till 2024. Tyler Lockett has now had five top 20 wide receiver seasons on the bounce. Like, that is mind blowing. This is a guy that people have been trying to give away for years, going, oh, Tyler Lockett's, he's done, he's old, he can't do it. Russell Wilson's gone, he can't do it. They'll probably say Geno Smith's gone, he can't do it. But yeah, I think wherever Tyler Lockett ends up going, he will be a value next year yet again.